All right, integrated 2. Welcome to part 3. Part 1 was our introductory lesson. Part 2, I gave you one example of how I want you to do the work. And I have 2 examples to show you in part 3. And then we'll spin this thing around and I will give you the assignment. Okay? Remember, through these 3 examples, our A values are either going to be 1 or -1. And then I'm going to make another video that I will put out, before Thursday that will let us practice A values other than 1. Okay? And so that's kind of the plan for the week, and we'll just see how all that goes. Okay. Let's start part 3. In this problem here, we're going to graph y equals -x squared minus 8x. Sorry about that. Minus 8x minus 12. And you can see I've already made my graph that is 6 up, 6 down, 6 left, and 6 right. Might even go to 7. Okay? So once again, you can pause the video and go ahead and maybe get your graph ready to the side. Or of course you can just pause it whenever you need to get caught up. But I'm going to kind of just run through this entire problem and then you can kind of pause where necessary. So here we go. Step 1, I want you to go ahead and list A, B, and C, just like we've done so often over the last few months. But notice this time A is -1. I'm going to highlight that fact because it's going to come into play quite a bit here in this problem. So A equals -1. B equals -8, and C equals -12. And in graphing, we really don't need the C value for this part of the problem. Remember, I think I said in the last example, I like us just to keep practice in the habit of identifying A, B, and C. Okay, step 2 is determine whether our parabola goes up or whether it's going to go down. So, is our parabola going to go up or down? It is going to go down because our A value is negative. And so, just a little sketch, because if you start graphing this thing up and you realize in step 2 that it's down, then you're going to know your table's off. So this is going to give us a good idea that it is going down. None of this you're probably going to find if you look at other things on the internet. You're probably not going to see this part in here, but I like to give you guys a lot of pre-information. So, let's use it. Okay, step 3. This is where we really got to be careful. It's our axis of symmetry. It's going to not only give us the halfway, cut our parabola in half, but it gives us the x value to the vertex, which we absolutely need. So it is always x equals -b over 2a. And let's go ahead and set it up. All right, so we have b is -8. So remember, when b is negative, it's a negative. And look at it this time. A is -1. You've got to get the -1 in there. It is so easy to forget. So we're going to clean this up. So we get a positive 8 over -2. Our axis of symmetry is x equals -4. Okay? X equals -4. I think I'll go ahead and put it in our graph now. So I know my parabola is sitting, the middle is sitting here. I don't know where it is on the axis of symmetry, but I do know that it is sitting on our vertical line right there. So let's go ahead and find the vertex. So our vertex is -4 comma question mark. Okay, we're looking for the y value. So we're going to take the -4 and substitute in and do our order of operations. So I get look at this here, y equals -4 squared minus 8 times -4 minus 12. Now once again, I know you can put this all into the calculator, type it all the way and across, but you better have your parentheses in the right place. Anybody who does this by hand, you know, we kind of think, remember, oh, negative and negative makes the positive, but remember order of operations. The exponent comes before we put in skinny friend and we multiply. And so this comes down. So this comes down right here, and then -4 squared is 16. So you've always got to watch when that negative's out front, it's always going to come down to that piece. We're going to go plus 32 minus 12. And if I think I've done this right, we get a y value of 4. Our vertex is -4 comma 4. So I can almost see the parabola happening right here. We know it's going down, but let's go ahead and we're going to make our table. Sorry about that. Okay, so here is -4, so right here is -5 and -3. And here is going to be -2 and -6. So remember, there is symmetry right here. And so you could plug these in and do all this order of operations, or we can remember this this 13 piece, okay? But this time, since A is negative, we're going to go down 1, so 4 minus 1 is 3. And we're going to go down 3. So that's going to be -2 comma 0. And of course it's going to repeat right here. So if you go back to the last example, we went up 1 and we went up 3. And then here we go down 1 and down 3. You know that you're coming down in this spot right here. So remember, it's going to be here, down 1, down 1, down 3. And you can go ahead and you can plot those points on your graph. So you can go ahead and do that. And then you make your parabola. You can go ahead and make your parabola come down. Okay. When you get to the end, don't make a U shape. It's going to be like a V. So keep your arrows going out. Some people like to do this and then they go straight up. Don't do that. Keep the shape of the parabola. Sketch it as best as you can. Okay. Now remember, it's important. If this is your axis of symmetry, we went out 1 and we did down 1. Then we went out to the next spot and we went down 3. So there's our down 1 and then there's our down 3. So we kind of go out and over. Looks like slope, it's not, okay? But if you remember that, then you don't have to plug these in to the problem. Okay? Once again, if we would have factored this, we would have seen our solutions are x equals -2 and x equals -6. Look at y is 0. So if I would have asked you to put this problem in the quadratic formula, you would have got x equals -2 and x equals -6. All right, let's go ahead. I got one more example for you, then I'll give you the assignment. So let's move over to this example right here. Looks really simple with the numbers. Okay, sometimes the smaller numbers actually give me more trouble, but let's go ahead and take a look at this. So we got y equals x squared plus 2x plus 3. I have my graph ready to go. So there is my x-axis and there is my y-axis. And so once again, if you want to pause the video to make your graph, go ahead and get a graph ready. Once again, you can get away with 6 up, 6 down, 6 left, 6 right. I think that will fit. If not, we can always extend it higher or we can estimate. So let's go ahead and let's work this problem. Step 1. Identify A, B, and C. Right now you could actually do the quadratic formula. This problem does not factor, okay, but you could do the quadratic formula and find your solutions. But remember, you do not need the C value in order to successfully graph this. Step 2. I like to know ahead of time whether I'm going to be graphing up or down. It is so easy to mess up your table, and if you know that you're going in the wrong direction, you know you have a mistake. So we're going to go up. Because A is positive. And if you wanted to write yourself a reminder, you know, put it over by your graph so you make sure this thing is going up when you go ahead and do it. All right, number 3 is where the real work takes place. So we're going to do our axis of symmetry. So we have our axis of symmetry with x being equal to -b over 2a. I'm going to get ready to substitute in. And because I can make mistakes just like you guys, I like to get my parentheses set ahead of time. The last thing I want to do when doing a problem that might take me a while is to make a silly mistake, spend all this time doing it, only to find out that I missed a sign somewhere. So we're going to have our 2 and we're going to put in our a value of 1. And so I get negative 2 over 2 our axis of symmetry is x equals negative 1. Okay, x equals negative 1. Well, I'm going to make it. So there's my axis of symmetry. I know I got a parabola going up somewhere along here, so now I'm going to find the vertex. So my vertex is negative 1 comma question mark, okay, because I'm going to find my y value. So we substitute in. You can put this all into the calculator. If we do order of operations, I get y equals positive 1. No, there's no negative sign on the outside. So protect with parentheses. Negative 1 squared is 1. Minus 2 plus 3. Looks like I get a y value of 2. My vertex is negative 1 comma 2. Okay, so my vertex is negative 1 comma 2. I know I have something that is going up. Okay, well wait a minute, if it's going up, notice that it's not going to cross the x-axis. That's okay, I'll talk about that in a second. But let's go ahead and make our table. So I've been running out of room to make the table, so I'll do it here. So my center is negative 1 comma 2. This is 0, and this is negative 2. Followed by 1, followed by negative 3. So once again, we could substitute our numbers in. 0 would be very easy to substitute into. Notice if you put 0 in it, I can already tell you the answer is 3. But remember, if I want to just prove that or show it with our trick, we add 1 is 3, and we know this is 3 because of symmetry. And so I could plot those right there. And then I'm going to add 3 there, so that's 6. And so this is going to be 6. And you have your parabola. We have a parabola that is above the x-axis, okay? You've seen the other parabolas, so let's talk about this real quick. I said in our other example that this means if we factored it, that would be the solutions. But remember, you gave me an assignment, you turned an assignment last week, and when the discriminant was negative, you remember the answer was no real solutions. Okay? So every time your discriminant was negative, I told you to stop because there was no real solutions. Now think about this. The solutions are where it crosses the x-axis. There and there. If your parabola does not cross, if it's completely above or completely below, I can tell you that if you plug this into the quadratic formula, if we set equal to 0, your discriminant is negative, and there are no real solutions. So that is what actually no real solutions means. So last week you didn't even know that you were getting ready to graph. And like I said, I want you to learn how to graph, and I would love for you to connect all these pieces together. And so I'm going to kind of keep talking about it, because the more you connect them in this time that we're away from each other, the better you're going to be next year when you get to see this again in IM3, but they pump it up a little bit. Becomes a little bit more difficult. So you really need to get really familiar with your calculators. You need to get familiar with some bigger problems and dedication to problems. And so I'm going to show you the answer. Excuse me, I'm going to give you the assignment right now, and we'll have a little discussion on it. Okay? So once again, close your eyes maybe. All right, like I said, I'm not going to stop and pause. I can just spin it around. Here are the 6 problems I would like you to graph and show me on a separate sheet of paper, your graph paper, whatever, for Thursday, before we get to Thursday. Okay? So you can see I just gave you 3 problems where A is 1. I'm going to give you 3 problems where A is -1. I gave you an example where the parabola crosses twice. I gave you one where it doesn't cross at all. And I'll give you a hint on this one. This touches the parabola 1 time. And remember, you were doing problems last week where we said there was 1 solution. I'd also like you to, it's free, download the Decimals Graphing Calculator to check your graphs. Okay? So download it. It's a free app. All right, some of you guys were using decimals last year with your IM1 teachers. We haven't touched upon it now, but you can go ahead and do it. And if you mess around with it a little bit, it might be a little tricky. You can type in these problems, and it will show you the graph. Okay, so you'll know right away when you do the problem, type it into decimals, make sure your graph matches what you see on decimals. And once again, use the technology the right way. Don't give me an assignment where you haven't shown your work. Don't give me an assignment where all I see are the graphs, because I'm going to think that you just did it this way. So there's no reason why you can't show me the steps and the problems to do it. So this is really important for you to be able to take into next year. So don't take any shortcuts now, or it's really going to set you back in IM3. And once again, you're supposed to email me if you need help. You're supposed to text me if you need help. And so the few times I've contacted you, I've had some of you guys say, hey, I didn't know how to do it, or I don't know what to do. No way. We are way too far along, and I've told you a few times that you can text me. So stop making that as an excuse, okay? Email me and say I'm not getting it. I'll make another video. I'll call you on the phone during our time from 10 to 11:30, and I'll walk you through a problem. Okay? So no more excuses about not understanding it, and then you don't let me know that you don't know what's going on. All right, so this is the end of part 3. This is our kind of our Monday through Thursday assignment. I'm going to put another video up around Wednesday or Thursday that changes these values, and we might extend it into next week. We might not. I'm not sure. Okay? So stay safe, work these problems, and let me know if you need anything. Thanks, guys.